Let's bring in now to talk about our top story tonight, the terror threats, as outlined last night by the ASIO boss Mike Burgess, and why this agenda appears to be so different from the Albanese government. Let's bring in Strategic Analysis Australia Director Peter Jennings. Peter, welcome to the show. Look, I spoke at the start of this program, the start of the hour, about how last night ASIO boss Mike Burgess clearly said that the threat from China, espionage and foreign interference is a certainty. He said that in terms of terror threats, it's Islamic terror that poses the greatest risk to Australia. Yet you never hear any Albanese government ministers speaking about this. It doesn't appear to be on their agenda. What do you think about this?
Well, good evening, Sharri. It's curious, isn't it? And of course, Mike Burgess is a public servant and official. What makes him a little different, I think, from many of his cohort is that he has his own act, the ASIO Act, which makes him responsible for making a number of these key intelligence determinations. And he's also a person of, pretty independent mind. And I think, thank goodness that Mike has created a process whereby at least once a year he gives a speech which sets out a security assessment. Why is the government not talking about these things? Well, on China, it's because they are pretending that we have a stabilised relationship, the thing that enabled some elements of trade to resume and which allowed Anthony Albanese to go following the footsteps of Gough Whitlam 50 years after his visit to Beijing. But the truth of the matter is, in terms of cyber hacking, counter-intelligence, China is aggressively moving against Australia and plans to dominate the Indo-Pacific region. The government simply doesn't want to talk about this because it cuts across its narrative of we have stabilised the relationship with China. And on the terrorism front, I think the reason is quite simply that really from the outrageous Hamas attacks on Israel on the 7th of October last year, too much of the government's attention was focused on how do we sort of soften this message so as not to offend Muslim Australians who our government believes votes for them. And so they talk in the softest possible terms. They can never mention anti-Semitism separately from also talking about anti-Islamicism, although frankly I don't see much of that in the Australian community these days. It's all about softening a domestic political message. And it's a good thing that Mike Burgess is there to actually remind us that terrorism continues to be a problem and that we are, frankly, right now, in the fight of our lives in dealing with an aggressive China, which is engaging in spying on Australia 24/7.
Look, it's so concerning, and I agree with you, and I made the same points earlier in the night that the government's political reasons, its political motivations are part of the reason it hasn't been so vocal about the terror threat.